Hello, so far we have been talking about how computational thinking can help us in our work in the humanities and social sciences. But is there a way for humanities and social sciences to influence computational thinking? Well, before I talk about algorithms and computational thinking, let me talk about something completely unrelated. Let's talk about islands, shall we? Suppose there were two islands, Island A and Island B. One day, these two islands decide to build a bridge. With a bridge, the people from Island A can now cross over to Island B, and the people from Island B can now cross over to Island A. All is good. But here's the thing, a bridge is more than just a bridge. Suppose Island A has very cheap rice. What will happen? Well, if you live near the bridge on Island B, you would cross over the bridge to buy rice on Island A instead. When people begin to behave like that, those shops selling rice on Island A will prosper. But shops selling rice on Island B, especially those near the bridge, their business will suffer tremendously. So, what's the moral of the story? A bridge can change lives, for better or for worse. So far, I've been talking about the bridge as if it was very short and people on Island A and Island B can easily cross the bridge by foot. Or what if the bridge is so long that it requires 2 or 3 days to travel on foot? What if there are no cars, so you have no choice but to go by horse or require a donkey to pull a cart or a wagon? Well, when you have a bridge that is like that, in this kind of circumstances, then the bridge exercises a certain kind of bias. Because only rich people can afford horses and donkeys. Only rich people can afford wagons and carts. So a bridge can exercise a certain bias where only the rich can use the bridge. And the poor, well, because it takes 2 or 3 days, will be deterred to cross the bridge unless they are driven by desperation. So as you can see, a bridge is more than just a bridge. And this brings me to a very famous paper written by Langdon Winner entitled Do Artifacts Have Politics? In this paper, Winner argues that all man-made objects exert a certain political influence, whether it is a bias towards certain classes or that it changes lives for better or for worse. The same can be said about algorithms. This brings me to the very important point about the politics of algorithms. Algorithms decide what matters to you. If, for example, you go to Pulau Ubin and you have absolutely no clue what's there, if you happen to go there, there's a temple with a Barbie doll in it. Go check it out. But let's say you're at Pulau Ubin and you have no idea what to eat. What will you do? Well, you take out your phone and you start to Google what to eat in Pulau Ubin. And chances are, you will go and visit the first restaurant that appears on your search results. So in that way, algorithms exert a certain influence on you. The way we optimize our algorithms, to sort, to filter, to select, or to order, it determines what you see, how you perceive the world, how you choose, and how you act. I want you to give this a try. Open Google right now and type, "Did the Holocaust happen?" Depending on your past search history, your results may vary. Here is my search results. Did the Holocaust happen? Well, if you look at the first few search results, it says yes, it did. But for some people, when they type "Did the Holocaust happen?", their search results say no, it didn't. Oh, isn't that interesting? This is how algorithms exert an ethical, social, and political influence, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Algorithms are created by us. Therefore, they are the products of our social, technical, and political decisions. They embody these decisions as well as our biases, our ignorance, our values, and our prejudices. The algorithms we create, in other words, are a reflection of who we are. The problem is that these algorithms feed back into our social, technical, and political decisions. The mathematician Cathy O'Neill argues algorithms are weapons of math destruction. Algorithms are incapable of reflecting the real world, and if we are uncritical in the use of algorithms, they can create realities that we did not intend. So the problems arise when we try to measure things that have no measures in themselves. In cases like that, we have to rely on what's known as proxy measures. Let's say, for example, you are a chef, and you want to measure how successful your meal might be. Of course, isn't that a very strange thing to measure? But how might you try to measure the success of a meal? A mother might say, a successful meal is one filled with lots of vegetables and then makes you healthy and strong. A 5-year-old child might say, a successful meal is one that contains lots of Nutella. Here's the insight that Katie O'Neill offers. If I'm the mother and I'm the one making the algorithm to evaluate the successful meal, I get to choose success because I am the mother, I am in charge. My opinion matters. That's the first rule of algorithms. Algorithms are opinions embedded in code. Let's move away from the measure of successful meals to measuring something a bit more practical. Let's say we want to measure whether somebody is at high risk of defaulting on a loan. Well, high risk for defaulting on a loan has no direct measure. We'll need to rely on proxy measures. So what kind of proxy measures could we turn to? Well, for starters, how about low education? Well, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If you have a low education, chances are you get a low paid job, and that makes it very difficult to pay back a loan, especially if it's a home loan. How about no stable job? If you don't have a stable job, one day you lose your job, no income, and then you can't pay the loan. How about whether or not the person comes from a poor neighborhood? This might seem reasonable, doesn't it? If you come from a poor neighborhood, your family, your friends are also poor. If you earn money, you might have to help your family and friends who are in financial need. However, using poor neighborhood as a proxy measure can be highly problematic. What makes a poor neighborhood poor? How do you even define something like that? Secondly, non-poor people may also be living in these neighborhoods for various reasons. Maybe I grew up in a poor neighborhood, I work hard, and I've become very rich. Or maybe I saved for a very long time and I can afford to pay all these loans. So, poor neighborhood is problematic for these two reasons. In the 1930s, most of your ethnic minorities happened to live in these areas that were defined as poor neighborhoods for a variety of reasons. The issue with this is, as a consequence, people from all these poor neighborhoods, all these ethnic minorities, could not qualify for a home loan. Fast forward to where we are today, who are the homeowners? Well, most of them are white Americans. The ethnic minorities were denied this way at the start. Now let's move to something a bit closer to home. We've been talking about housing loan policies in America. How about Singapore? Well, here's a question for you. How do you rate your Grab driver? Suppose you got from point A to point B, you didn't die, your Grab driver didn't annoy you. How many stars will you give? Some people will give 3 stars. Because why? 5 stars, so 3 is the neutral position, right? Some people will give 3 stars and they'll say, well, I'll give a 4th or a 5th star if the driver did something really nice. Some people will give 4 stars by default and they'll say, well, this 5th star is reserved if the driver does something wonderful, like makes me laugh, makes me smile, sings a song to me. Okay, then that 5th star will be awarded. Some others award 5 stars by default. So if I didn't die and the driver didn't annoy me, that's 5 stars. The moment the driver annoys me, that's 1 star. Notice how a 5-star system has so many interpretations. Some give 3 by default, some give 4 by default, some give 5 by default. Well, if you go to the Grab website, if the driver gets less than 4.3, they will be terminated. Did you know this? I didn't know this until I went to the Grab website. But think about it, if you were one of those that gave 3 stars or 4 stars, how many drivers did you accidentally penalize? Now, isn't that very scary? How one particular view of a 5-star system has led to policy. So even a 5-star system can reflect the kinds of biases and ignorances that we may have when we develop such a system to evaluate people's performance. What more, the policies that follow from it. Now, here's something for you to think about. If you had to redevelop Grab's rating system for drivers, how would you do it differently? Would you still stick to a 5-star system? Or would you opt for a different system altogether? Don't forget, if you're going to use words, we're going to fall into the problems that I raised in the first lecture video. At the end of the day, algorithms, whether they are digital algorithms or processes or policies, these are all reflections of their creators. They reflect our biases and ignorance. Algorithms are not as innocent as we think. These algorithms and the encoded biases subsequently determine what we see and what we can choose. Especially in this day and age when algorithms are all around us. Especially when we're using smartphones, where Google is so integral to our lives. Let me end with a very interesting quote by a professor, Jenna Burrell, who writes on the politics of algorithms. Algorithms shape opportunities and mitigate dangers, but we don't yet have a very good handle on their ramifications. As social scientists and humanities scholars, we are well positioned to think about these ramifications creatively and broadly. I do hope that you found this series of lecture videos insightful and intriguing. As you can see, computational thinking can help us in our work in humanities and social science, but at the same time, our work in the humanities and social sciences can help to influence computational thinking as well.